Will you ever wear a black turtleneck again?
It's funny. Yeah, I do. I packed one.
Come on. Black turtleneck is iconic.
It's sad. It's sad, but true.
One needs one.
But it is kind of like, I almost wore it today.
No, oh my God. It's so good you did it.
I just thought, oh no, talking about Elizabeth.
I can't do it.
Because that's the go-to as well, right?
It is so
classic.
Welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversations at Home program. I'm Jazz Tangcay, Senior Artisans Editor of Variety. Now, without further ado, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce this year's SAG Award nominees for Female Actor in a Television, Movie, or Limited Series. With us today, we have Emily Blunt, Jessica Chastain, and Amanda Seyfried. Hello, and welcome to you all.
Woo-hoo. Hello.
It's such an honor to be here with you all. Congratulations. I'm just going to start because this is a conversation with your peers and a lot of actors are going to be tuning in. What is it like? Can you share a little bit about going through this experience with your, fellow actors and where the nominees for SAG and winners are actually chosen by actors? Amanda, do you want to start? What it's been like?
Sure. This is the big one, I think, for me. I've never been nominated for a SAG award. I think we do this for as long as we do it, and this is very specific. So I kind of know. This is the audience, separate from the audience, like in the industry. Like this is. I don't know. I just feel like these are my homies, and if they can, if they like my work, then it feels like the world is a little smaller and a little safer. Not that it's just I try not to need any of this, obviously, but it does feel really nice, and also just today being able to talk to you guys is and listen to your experiences and process. It does feel like I'm even more in a club that I've always wanted to be in a good way.
Jessica, what about for you?
Yes, it's it's very meaningful to me because I think no one really understands what it is like an actor. Yeah. There's over 100,000 members of SAG, and such a very small percent of them are actually able to make a living. And so the union is filled with people who really love to do what they do. And like Amanda and Em, I think we all shared that as it's like a gift. And, every day I can't believe that I get to do this with my life, and I have so much gratitude for it. But I'm also not very far away from living in Los Angeles and, having all these costumes in the trunk of my Honda Civic and going from audition to audition to audition for pilots that I was never cast for, or movies that I couldn't get an audition for. And I had a relatively late start into the industry. And so I still feel that. I still feel, the immense gratitude, but also I understand what it's like when you're auditioning and you're so close to getting the job, but it's not quite there yet. And that's why too, last year, it was so monumental and very emotional to me, to be there and to be recognized, because these are my people. Like Amanda said, I love being on set because I love working with actors, and I feel like it's my community. From a kid that really didn't have a community until I found like the drama club, it still feels that way a little bit to me. It's my family.
I mean, I feel the girls have said it so beautifully. I feel very similarly about this one specifically. It is terribly moving when it happens with your peers, you know, because I think you do have a secret language with other actors that is very unique, and it's really nuanced, and it's really easy, you know. So I think it's really, I don't know, I think we sometimes live in these, you live in your own little sort of bubble of trying to sort of always normalize what you do for a living, and it's such an extraordinary job, and yet you do have these very normal lives. And so when you suddenly are aware of a community of other people who do what you do and they like what you do, it's so meaningful, because they kind of get everything about it. They get not only maybe what the performance is or what you sweat for it or what you wanted to portray or live, but they also understand everything, like what it's like to make a movie, how hard it is to make a great show or make a great movie. It's almost impossible, you know, to make, with everything that comes with it. It's not always easy. And so when you make something that has an impact on people to the point where they want to kind of put your name down for something, it's wonderful. It just is.
I love that. Talking about getting things made, I mean, Jessica, this project has been with you for 10 years, I think, like a really long time. But what was it like to finally shoot this and tell Tammy's story, Tammy Wynette's story, and do it over, you know, episodic, rather than be like, we're going to tell her story in a movie? Like, talk about that journey and decisions that got made along the way.
Well, it was crazy. It was, I think, 10 years. Josh Brolin walked up to me at the Golden Globes and it was the first time I was ever at the Golden Globes. First year I had movies come out at all. And even having a movie star talk to me was a big deal. So he came up to me and he said, "You should play Tammy Wynette." And I was like, "All right, I will." And he's the producer of this. And I mean, it started out, it was going to be a film. And then of course it made the evolution. It became what it really needed to be, because I mean, what we have like over 30 songs that we sing, and you can't put that in a 2-hour form. And so it just seemed like the perfect way to go. And the time it took, the 10 years of us trying to make it as a film, it's such a good lesson, because sometimes when it's not flowing, like you're getting a lot of like, it's not going to work, or no, or like there's a reason why. And it wouldn't have been as fulfilling as a film. To do like the 6-hour version of it, we really got to explore each of the songs. We got to explore more of the relationship between George and Tammy. And so, yeah, it meant a lot to have that time to prep, because I'm playing an iconic, you know, country singer, and her accent and her singing and like all the stuff that it goes with that. But then also to have it as the right form, I think is very important.
I love that. I want to talk about singing, because here's something you all have in common. You've all sung, you've had musical moments in movies. Like, talk about, you've all done it in your work. Emily in Mary Poppins Return, Amanda, you know, Mamma Mia, Jessica, obviously in this. Are those musical moments like challenging when you have to film those? Like, yes. Take us into that.
They're terrifying, awful, embarrassing. And for me, it was something I've always just found really hard, is singing in front of people. I've learned just to kind of embrace it and do it. It's one of those things that's why everyone sounds terrible when they do karaoke. Like, people are like, I was amazing at this song in the shower. I'm tanking. Like, it's just that's a strange exposure that I don't know what it is that I find more exposing about singing in front of people. And I don't know if it was the same for you guys, but when I worked with Rob Marshall on Into the Woods and in Mary Poppins, you do this thing where you do all the pre-records. This is how Rob works. You do the pre-records. You spend 3 weeks getting these amazing pre-records where you sound pretty great, because he's picking this syllable, that line, this word, and it's all amalgamated together, and it's amazing. And then you get on set And he goes, okay, we're going to do one live. And literally you're like it's just terrifying, because when you do one live, you just have a little piece in your ear with the music, but you're the only one who can hear the music. So the crew are just listening to some atrocious a cappella version of your song. And that's all. So for me, that was sort of the lasting memory of doing musicals, was that moment of, okay, we're going to do one live. But I do see that actually you don't have to be a perfect singer. And that's what I kept sort of telling myself, especially because I think after having to follow what Julie Andrews did, you're sort of like, it was just a virtually impossible thing to sort of move an iconic boulder sort of slightly aside so that you could do your own version of it. And then I realized I just had to do my own version of it. And that was all I could do. And I guess singing could potentially be like, if you can't say it, then sing it type of feeling. Like, and if it can feel more like that, then it doesn't have to be, none of us have to sound like, Whitney Houston, which none of us, no one ever will.
Yeah, that's the thing about Les Mis, with that. It was just Tom Hooper just wanted it all to be live. And I was like, that's brilliant, because when we sing, we can further emote, we can express ourselves through song, which is just the ultimate for a singer. And then for someone like me specifically, who, when you put the pressure of an audience, I become this small and my voice becomes this small. It was just traumatic for me. Like I still wish I could go back and redo everything I did, because I was I started working with my voice coach after that movie. I was like, I'm never going to stop. I'm never going to stop exercising my voice and training ever. And I never did. And I understood that, but for someone like me who doesn't have that kind of stamina and that kind of breath work and technique, I was just lost. So it was intense. So and that, all this to say, in contrast to Mamma Mia specifically, where we never had someone come up and say, okay, now we're going to do it live, like that. I cannot believe that happened to you, especially because you'd put it all in the studio, but we only had one day to lay all of our tracks down in Mamma Mia. So, but of course they made it sound better with the edit or the whatever they do in post, but it's still like, I would take that any day over live singing. You lose the magic of the moment, but you still have great chops.
Exactly.
Sounds great.
We did the whole thing live on George and Tammy. It was the whole thing, which honestly, you guys, I have never drank so much alcohol in my life. Because everything you're saying about the crew is terrifying, right? The crew, and what you said, Emmett. Yeah, and then you're also like the cold voice because you have the earwig. We were doing it in front of hundreds of extras.
Mm-mm.
Oh, so we had an audience of extras who were so sweet.
Oh,
but they would be very kind to us. They'd have the first take, so the extras would know what the song was, where the music that was in our earwig would play through the speakers. So they would hear our microphone plus the music. And then after one take of that, they turn off the music for the audience. And we sing cold.
Horrifying.
31 songs. I would be 10 a.m. and I would be like, may I please have some medicinal tea?
Can I have some adult water?
Was it amazing though? Like, was it the most, like, did you love it? Did you want kind of? I
loved harmonizing because I'd never done that before. And so harmonizing with Mike was great. When you have two voices, and George and Tammy did a lot of harmony together. So that was beautiful. Singing Stand By Your Man in Vegas with like hundreds of people. And I know the notes coming up at the end of the song. And I know even Tammy Wynette, like she had a hand signal behind her back, whether or not she'd hit the note. So she'd tell her, her band, like, okay, I'm not going to hit the note tonight. So you guys need to do something to help me. I didn't have that. So I literally was like, I come out and I'd be like talking to the audience, trying to get them on my side from the very beginning before I start singing. And I was like, I'm going to do something really scary, you guys. just like every acting take, you know how we mess up and we may forget a line or may stumble a line. I'm going to mess up the song some takes, and I'm going to hit some notes that aren't going to sound great every once in a while. But please be patient because we're doing this for 10 hours. And they were amazing.
Oh,
wow. Oh my gosh. Amanda's just in shock, but talking about voices and working
there must be some trauma there, right? But I mean, amazing. Our jobs are magic. And also, somewhat terrifying at times.
Terrifying.
No, it's fascinating. I mean, I'm talking about voices, Elizabeth Holmes has such a, distinct voice. How long did you have to work on that with your vocal coach and just getting that?
I think right away, I was never going to hit the depth. It's just a physical limitation. And I knew if I pushed, it could be bad for my vocal cords. And I ideally just always want to be able to be a singer. So I just worked on the lowest I could. And also, but I also knew that the more important part of Elizabeth Holmes's voice was the sound of the accent, really, the affectation. It was more about how it sounded and not how low it went. So that was just right off the bat. I knew that I wasn't going to hit what I needed to hit. They could lower it if they wanted to, but but my job was to get people on board with my version. So I didn't spend too much time worrying about the depth as much as the sound, the roundness of her, the inside of her mouth. Just it's an interesting image. what I pictured when I spoke as her. It's just and then it became muscle memory. I guess all accents do.
Yeah. I love that. What makes you say yes to a project? Emily, for you, you actually made the jump to becoming a producer for the English. What made this be the special one for you?
Oh, I felt like it. I felt so kidnapped by it really immediately. I had never in my head signed on to something 2 pages into a script, but I read 2 pages of it and I was like, I'm doing this show. I just thought it was utterly rare and unique and mysterious. And I think I'm always looking for that mystery. I'm always looking for something that's not derivative of something else or too spelled out. And it was just, it felt as beautiful and as violent as it was witty. And I just didn't know how this writer, Hugo Blick, had sort of been so dexterous with it. And so I just felt so transported by it. And I knew it was in its early stages. And I think I'd been wanting to, produce something for a while and properly produce something. Because I think no matter what project I've done, certainly in the last 5 or 6 years, when you've been around the block a while, you just, it becomes very immersive for me. I'll have notes, I'll have thoughts, I'll have ideas for the story and where it could go and how it could be better. I've never wanted to take a producing credit on anything. It hasn't felt sort of appropriate. I'll do the work whether you give me a credit or not. I'm sort of invested whether you want to give a title to it or not. But I knew that it made sense in this case because it was in such a kind of embryonic stage when it was sent to me. It was sent to me as a pilot. I don't know about you guys. I find it's quite instantaneous when you fall in love with something, and it's a rather sort of hard to word reason why you want to do it. I don't know why I want to do it. I just have an in that I can't explain. But I find an in with it really immediately. And that will be the reason I put my feet to the fire with it, because it does feel like that every time. It's a bit of a leap into the unknown, every time you take something on. But I can't explain it. When I decide to do something, it's because I'm sort of propelled forward to do it. doesn't really have a strategy for me. Yeah. By the way, I know this looks like a Cosmopolitan. It's not. It's an energy drink.
I was so hoping it was.
Can you imagine? Hey, good morning.
It was like at 11 a.m. I'm like, I've missed you with your Cosmo, breakfast Cosmo.
I know. I've actually given up coffee, so now I'm just drinking an energy drink.
Oh my gosh.
It's like a cranberry and vodka.
That is bold. That is bold.
I cut coffee and I cut alcohol. Just until I open. Once I open the show.
Are you having coffee with my energy drinks?
Are you having coffee withdrawals though? Or no?
I did for 2 weeks in January. Because I like a shot of espresso in my chai teas. But now I'm on water.
So were you just doing that to why?
I haven't been on stage in 10 years. And I know like this show, because we had audiences, it was kind of like being on stage, but not really, because you have multiple takes. So I'm just scared. I mean, it's a doll's house. It's, a little Ibsen, a little light theater. Jamie Lloyd, an amazing director. Amy Herzog, an incredible playwright. So yeah, we start Monday. We start Monday. I said Tuesday.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's going to be amazing.
Good,
yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So exciting. Okay. Amanda, I'm going to come back to you. What about you? You've been a producer too. What made you take that leap? And then what made you say yes to wanting to tell Elizabeth's story?
I mean, to be honest, I didn't get it from its embryonic state, at all. It was Kate McKinnon who helped this ball get rolling. And I have to give all credit to her and Liz Merriweather and Catherine Pope, the producer. And so Michael Showalter and I got on pretty late. He got on first. And I just got lucky with that, with them allowing me into the producerial title job, because the truth is what I'm really realizing about me is that I don't love, it's just work is so hard and so immersive, and I become part of it so quickly. And like you were saying, it's really important for me when I go away and do a job that it's worth the time away from my kids. And so I just don't take any jobs on lightly anymore. And so when I do take a job, I just want to either be the actor, or it's something that like you said, there's just an in and you can't let it go. I am developing one thing. But with Elizabeth Holmes, with the Dropout, I just got to have my input, even though I wasn't part of the entire, God knows how long they've been trying to make this. 2 years, which isn't a long time compared to most things, but it was really important to me that I did have a voice though on this, and I used it, and it felt really great to have that kind of power, not just as an actor, but as somebody whose vision and opinions they respected. And it's all very new to me now, and I just don't want to take it lightly. But yeah, jumped on quickly at the end, but really just when I was there, I felt like a say. I think I needed that, because it felt like, to me, such a risk, because I really had to get the audience to come on board with my version. So, playing real people, it's a whole other niche in the acting world. Right now I'm about to play a version of myself again, which has its own challenges, of course, as we all know.
I love that you talked about having a voice, because so many times in this industry, women do not have voices. So for all of you to be producers, executive producers, and having a voice, how important is that when you are taking on these characters and you are on a film set and you can say something instead of going home, and not that people do it, but you could cry into a pillow and be like, I wish I said something. You have that power. What does that mean to have evolved through that as actors?
I have a company, and it's amazing. Actually, I have an incredible producing partner, Kelly Carmichael. And even on this, I just realized it's amazing that all three of us are producers on our shows. Hello, 2023. No, but I can give you an example of this one. It wasn't with H. Sylvia, our showrunner H. It was a different writer at one point when it was developing out. And I got an outline for the first episode. And I was so disturbed by it it just felt like Tammy had no say in anything. There were things that what his character was doing to try to win her, that she really wasn't active in her decision of being with him. Now, in the past, you get that script, and that's what you do. Like you're playing the script. You can talk to the director, you can talk to your co-stars, you can try to influence a little bit, but it's pretty hard when you're on set, and also when the train is already going. At this point, I was like, we need to have a big call, and that's when Abe Sylvia came on to write all the episodes, because it was really important to me and Kelly. Also, we're the two female producers on it. An incredible group of producers, but it was very important for us in defending her that we don't fall into the tropes that we've seen, I think, in storytelling in the past, that people don't even realize that they're participating in. It was also important to show her as a mom, which, we're all working moms. We know we can have successful careers, but we also know that we have another life. And I think sometimes too, that gets ignored in storytelling of women too, the kind of how complex the lives are. So having women at the forefront in the development stage, for me, it's not just about having a voice, because everyone has a voice. It's about whether or not your voice is amplified and listened to and heard. And not only do I want to make sure my voice is heard, but the goal of my company is to amplify other voices that are being diminished. And so I feel very grateful and very happy to have the support system I have to do that, and actually to see it implemented in our show.
So I just have to say how incredible it is what you've been doing, Jessie, for so long. And I've known you a while, and you are such a force in that way. And in that way of being sort of like unapologetic about it, and like, this is how it's going to be, and this is how I'm going to operate. And I don't know if it's like, was sort of in my, I don't know if it was like a sort of like British thing or something of like, God forbid you sort of appear to be too like, I don't know if you guys feel this. I think as women in the industry, and maybe we've normalized it for a long time, to get your points across and get what you need, there's often just a bit of a dance that you have to do that can be incredibly tedious at times. And we're all really good at it, and you get really good at it, and you just start to think, well, this is just how it is. And I've never sort of minded doing it, because I'm like, well, it'll just get what I need at some point, but it's just a bit more of this. There's less of a direct line of communication. And I found just being a producer on it, on anything I've done going forward, it has lessened that dance. There's been less of a contortion needed to say what you need and say what you think would work and propel the story forward. And that has been really cool. And I've really liked it. I've really liked it, and I will continue to really like it going forward. And yeah, I would say that's the main thing I've noticed in myself, even, that I felt myself less having to do that sort of heart palpitation moment of going, ooh, hey, what do you think about this? Like, all that shit that we do. And I'm sort of relieved not to do it, and just collaborate.
And you've always been a producer. I have to say, I remember being in the makeup trailer with you, and you're just like, and maybe in the makeup trailer you felt more free, but I just remember the things you would say were so smart and so much about story and about it was the whole world. And so I think to be the artist, Amanda, and artist you are, you have to have that in you. And I'm so glad now that you're getting rid of the dance.
Oh, I love getting rid of the dance. I'm not a very good dancer anyway, so I just really like it.
Just all of like a hems and haws and like,
yes,
feels so wrong when you're doing it, but you know you're going to get what you need. But now it's just like, I need this, not I need this because, well, you see, I was feeling, but no big deal. It feels very straightforward and so different than 10 years ago. It's very sad to me how many times I was taken advantage of. We were, it's just because, and I know that it takes growth, but it's also just the walls that were built for and had stayed up for years, and it feels just so different. I feel so safe to say what I need. Wow. I don't know if that happened because I became a parent, but it certainly, that did help. Because I'm like, I started my daughter in these situations, but it's still like things are changing, and it's because, I mean, like, you have a production company, you're not going to let shit fly anymore.
Oh no,
This is what's necessary, and it's a lot of work. I know it's a lot of work, but if you have the vision and the means, and you can get people together and create things in a safer, more productive world, it's great. It's exactly what's needed. Feels so
it's
good.
also that thing of like, I've never just been that interested in the acting side of it. I mean, I'm just so interested in the full tapestry, and you realize your performance in something is, the movie's not a portrait of a character. That's not what it is. Like, it's everything. It's everything. It's like tracking what it is, and how will people feel about this, and what would be moving, what would kidnap them, what would not, what would work, what's satisfying, what's not, what should be defiant, what isn't in your storytelling, and I think that whole idea of, also, I'm so interested in how things are shot. Like, are we shooting it emotionally? Does it capture something? Are you doing something unique? How's it going to be edited? What's the music? Like, I just love all of it. And I've loved all of it for so long. So I do feel now, and I think we've all been doing this for a while now, and it's the beauty of kind of not being the ingenue anymore, is that they kind of have to listen, because we've done more movies than most of the people most of the directors work with. You've done more movies than them, so it's it's wonderful now. It's wonderful to be at this moment where, we've all been in this crazy world for a long time, and we're all wanting to do something different every time. And it's not just about the performance, it's about the whole thing. It's about the whole world. And that's the stuff that moves me now, for sure.
Also, I love the casting aspect. With being a producer, because I love like going to off Broadway. I love seeing independent films. I love, getting as much as I can, because I'm just watching movies and plays all the time. And to see a performance of someone that I've never heard of and be like, oh, that person would be great in this part. Yeah. And to be able to help that happen, that's something. And to fill the cast, I was really lucky. Like, we've got incredible actors on our show, and being involved in that conversation as well is very important.
Oh God, it's so fun. It's so, because you have ideas of people, but then my husband's casting a movie that he's producing and starring in. And I was just watching tapes of these 15-year-old girls, and I'm like, God, there's just so much.
I know.
When I was 15, like what it felt like, and they're putting themselves out there, and I'm like, and like, there's just so much going on, and in this little room, and how great is it that now people can, put themselves on tape and actually get seen
at home. But that's also amazing. They don't have to go into like a audition room. They can actually record themselves with a friend and send in the tape
now, because of the pandemic. Now, so because I used to send in tapes and think there's just no way, like no one's gonna see this. And and now it feels like I actually visited this school, the local high school up where I live in upstate New York, and they're putting on Mamma Mia. It's their first show after the pandemic. And one of them, of course, asked me, like, how do you get into it? You know, how hard is it? What do you need? And I felt like I was able to help finally, because usually it's like, well, you got an agent, you got to have someone who really has passion for you, and you kind of, you got to work really hard. I mean, it's really hard to get into this business. However, there's so much content. I was like, you can put yourself on tape now, and now it can be seen. There's so much going on. There feels like there's enough for everybody now in a way that it didn't. I don't know if that's true, but it feels different. And I had so much, it just felt like there was so much more promise and so much more room for people. I mean, they're 18, but God, like, get going. That's so exciting.
Jessica, you mentioned makeup, and Emily, you mentioned music, costume, hair, makeup, the works. Like, how great is it to work with those departments? And like, how do they help you find your characters?
My team I've worked with forever, and Em knows my team. Linda and Stephanie, they won the Oscar last year for Teeny Faye, which I was actually more emotional about them winning than I was a mess when they won. I was so excited.
Do remember seeing you weeping when they won.
I was weeping like a fool. I mean, really.
I was like, oh, yeah.
I was out of my mind when they won. So I love them. And, they worked on this as well. And there's a huge age shift that you see in episode 6. There's, goes back and forth. Tammy had a very, very hard life. And at one point, she had a port in her heart to administer drugs. And, so there was a lot in terms of old age makeup, a lot in terms of wigs. But then also just the annoying thing of, because Tammy stopped eating, all the food came through her port. So it was a lot of just like not eating, which is never fun. Just like, okay, I'm going to have juices. I did it in a healthy way. I didn't do like a master cleanse or anything like that. I was doing green juices and like sauteed kale with veggie broth and really boring food. And it was also award season. So I was exhausted and very grouchy that I just wanted French fries. But yes, my team is my everything, and I'm so grateful to them. They've done everything. They've done Molly Bloom. They've done The Huntsman. They did this. They did Tammy Faye. All the different characters I've done. The reason I'm able to play women who look so different from each other is because of them. Yeah, they're my everything.
It's so transporting, and it's so essential. I remember on the English, the costume designer, Phoebe DeGay, she did Killing Eve. Like, she did that iconic dressing that she wore, that Jodie wore in Killing Eve. And she's just this extraordinary person. And when I first met her, instead of it being like, well, this is right for the period, and and this and this and this, she's sort of magical. She was like, so how do you see her? Like, how do you see the character? And she kind of like pulls you in, and you're like, leaning into her. This is how I see her, and it was just all about the character's journey and who she is as a person and what she's overcome and trauma. And so she said, why don't we see her? I want to see her completely out of place in this very masculine, brutal landscape. When you first see her, she arrives in like Alice in the Wild Wild West, like looking completely like a fish out of water in this pale pink dress. And she goes, and then I think we'll put her in red, and then we'll put her in purple, like she's being bruised by the process. And I was just like, this woman is amazing, and it just was so helpful as well to get you there. And then you realize that everybody is working from the same depth as you're trying to. And I find it so moving. I find the craftsmanship of what people do on a crew so moving, And the crew are the people who really know actors. Like, if you want to know what someone's like, ask the crew, because they see you. They see everything that goes into it. They see you at your most raw form, you know, at your most fearful form. They see everything. And so when they're working from that kind of depth that you're trying to, you really are like a family, you know?
Yeah. Amanda, what was it like putting on that black turtleneck?
Thinking about the costumes and that in the Dropout was, we already knew what we needed to do because it's so iconic, but the design of it was just based on everything that we knew already, which is, you know, it's still very challenging. But I think the fit, it just has to feel like it's mine. And the first time I put on the whole, oh my God, I had my hair back. It was all kind of messy. I put the lipstick on. I was standing, even without the lipstick, but I was standing there in the first fitting. And I was just like, this is doing a lot of the work. It really is transforming. I've had that moment many times before. Twice before. This is only the third real person I've played, but in the first times I've put on this very specific costume. It really has made me feel like I was already partially there without being there, and it's so powerful with a really good costume, like, you know, Daniel Day-Lewis and the shoes. Everybody hears about that. And maybe it's not necessarily the shoes, but it's something. It's an art form, you know, a crew and a making of a movie or a TV show. It's like a molecule. It's like an atom. It's like, there's just, everything needs to be working at the same rate in order to, I'm not a scientist. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but it's what I picture. Everybody needs to be working at the same level for it to really fly. And it's just so everything's important. And it really did. It was, oh my God, it was the most fun I've ever had. All the work I had done, all the preparation I had done with the 3 months that I had, luckily I had 3 months to study her. It was just that moment in the dressing room for the first time, putting on the sports bra to make a different shape and then getting the right fit turtleneck and the right slacks that just did not fit well. And then those little flats, the patent leather flats. It was just, this is what she wore. And I could totally be her.
Mm-hmm. Will you ever wear a black turtleneck again?
You know, it's funny. Yeah, I do. I packed one.
Come on. Black turtleneck is iconic.
It's sad. It's sad, but true.
One needs one.
But it is kind of like, I almost wore it today.
No, oh my God. It's so good you did it.
I just thought, oh no, talking about Elizabeth.
I can't do it.
Because that's the go-to as well, right?
It is so classic, but she made it a little dirty for a while.
She made it disturbing, but it shouldn't be.
I know. Well, she took it from Steve Jobs, and then she made it her. Anyway. And that red lipstick. What are you gonna do? Powerful. It was powerful. She was smart.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I almost wore a black turtleneck, and I was like, wait, no.
Gosh.
It's just the go-to. You have all given such incredible advice during this panel. And for the last question, any last words of advice to your fellow actors out there?
I would say just embrace your community, because that's the thing that I have found throughout my career as my touchstone. So, for example, I knew, like, Jeremy Strong and I have been friends since before any of us could get a job. Oscar Isaac and I have been friends before we could get a job, you know? We had like really tough auditions. We had jobs that we almost got that we didn't get. We've had situations where we've had successes. You know, I went to Oscar's premiere of The Nativity Story, where he played Joseph. You know, and it's really important to find your community of people, and it will grow as you work. You know, and when I say work, that includes doing a play at a studio, you know, every Tuesday night for agents to come see. It's like your work includes just what you create. And so find your community, stick with them, and you'll all help each other throughout your career. And they'll be your touchstones. That to me has been my best advice is the connections between people.
Yeah.
It's helped me the most, for sure. And I'm sorry, one more thing. I've been lost on a set, like about to do a scene that was really hard. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I've texted people, help. Like, even I was just somewhere with Sam Rockwell, and he found out I was going on stage, and he's like, text me. I was just on stage. It's hard. If you need help, reach out to me. And it's been amazing, you know? So yeah, I'm constantly reaching out to people for help.
I think that's beautiful. I would say, I think it's a hard thing to kind of say to people, this business is tough, put a helmet on, just get through it, you know? And it's something that we all have to do at some point, you know, is to put a helmet on and just try not to take it personally, but it's the most personal job in the world. It is personal. It matters. And so it's okay to embrace that side of it, I think, and believe in yourself. Believe in what you want to do. It matters. It's important. And I think, as Amanda was saying before, it's so much more expansive now, your ability to get seen and known. And so don't be afraid. Don't go the normal route. It doesn't have to be the normal route. You don't have to conform to what is the regular route of getting into it. Be creative. Keep creating in like whatever form you want. Just don't stop working those muscles. I would say just be inventive in how you want to go about getting started in it all. Be as inventive as you want to be.
And
Amanda, take it home.
We're never
Country road.
No, I was just one of the things that someone said to me kind of recently, and I've never forgotten it, is that you are, I don't know what it is, but it's a fraction of a difference when you're on stage and you think you've done the worst performance of your life. No, you're as the worst you'll ever be in your head. And insecurity can just make you so tiny. Like I was saying before, with when you're singing when you're me and you're singing in front of people, you become really small. It's like insecurity could just ruin the moment. It can ruin an audition. It can ruin a performance for yourself, but it's not going to change as much as you think it will. Like I'm sure some nights you'll feel like, Jess, because you're about to get on stage, like that you didn't do as well as the night before, but no one will know except you, really, or your director, or your assistant director. But it's so important to remember that it's just a fraction. It's a fraction for everybody else. For you, it's really, you can kind of remain confident that your insecurities are really just impacting your own perspective and your own experience, and it doesn't bleed out as much as you think it does to everybody else. But God, insecurity, man, it's going to bite us until we die, and we cannot let it win, because it just, like, we're so lucky that when we do get to act and we get paid to do it, it's a miracle. And it's the most fun, and that's why we're here. That's why we're doing it. It's crazy. What a weird life when we go in and like act in front of a panel of people and hope that they like it. It's like for us, like we are so lucky we get to be where we are right now, and people know our work enough that we get to, you know, jump around them sometimes. But
yes, I also think like just don't be afraid to throw the kitchen sink at something. Like, you know, even in the midst of like you're doing a scene, just throw the sink at it. You don't know what's going to stick. You don't know. Just keep playing and keep trying something. You know, I watched Woman Under the Influence. Have you guys ever seen it?
Amazing. Yes. Are you kidding me?
I watched it on the plane back, and she does stuff in it, Jenna Rollins, that's so crazy and so incredible and so of the moment. And it just shows she just kind of threw caution to the wind. And it was such a lesson in not watching too many movies, you know, and thinking, well, this is how it should be in a movie scene, and this is what a movie scene looks like. It was just like such a reminder of the kitchen sink, you know, because you just kind of don't know what's going to move people and what's going to move you in the moment. So it was just such a reminder of being brave, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
I showed up to do a scene with Vanessa Redgrave once. I didn't tell you guys this. And she showed up with a trunk filled with props that she had like decided. And at one point she like pulled a flag out and started waving it in the middle of a scene. And it wasn't in the script or anything. And I was like, this is everything I want to be for the rest of my life. Yes. And that is like, throw the kitchen sink at it. Yeah. Show up at those auditions with a flag. Wave the flag. You're going to remember you.
You never know when you're going to need a flag.
Have one with you.
By the way, like props are also, if you're
everything,
if you're feeling insecure about a scene, find something to touch.
Get a prop. Get something to lean on. Just lean on something.
Lean on something. Yes, it's so funny how amazing it is, like, and distracting it can be for your brain to like really be in the moment. God, it's just like, somebody needs to write a book about just like random inventive tools to like get you out of your head.
Well, it's like, remember that scene with Marlon Brando and the glove? It all became
the glove on the waterfront.
Yeah. All you could think about was, when's he going to give it back to her? Is he going to give it back to her? Oh my God, but look how he's touching the glove. Is she wondering if he'd touch her like that? I mean, the whole thing became so exciting suddenly. Oh, see? Props. Get yourself a prop, guys.
Props. Lean on the kitchen sink and then throw it.
That's it. That's it.
Thank you.
I don't want to. I know we're supposed to end, but I don't normally enjoy these things.
This was really fun, you guys. This was so nice. Thank you.
And now that I know you're in Brooklyn, I am going to bug you.
On behalf of the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, Jessica, Amanda, Emily, thank you so much for that incredible conversation. I wish we could have kept going. Thank you for sharing your experiences, your process, and your craft with your fellow performers. And congratulations. And thank you again.
Thank you, Jazz. Such a pleasure.